All right, welcome back everybody as we get set to look ahead to day 2 of NHL action. There's 11 games on the slate today, so lots of options to pick from. I'm going to break down every game for you starting right now. Before we get started, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps me a lot, and I love you for doing it. Thank you. In the first game on the list, we have the Boston Bruins as minus 140 favorites, and we have the New Jersey Devils as plus 120 underdogs. The Boston Bruins have been successful for so long, at some point it's going to stop. They let their captain Zdeno Chara walk in free agency, as well as Torrey Krug, another key part of their blue line and their locker room leadership. David Pastrnak is out with hip surgery, and Brad Marchand had hernia surgery in the offseason. So I'm not sure what this roster looks like without those leaders. That being said, they seem to be good no matter what, and Tuukka Rask is back, and I believe Patrice Bergeron will be playing, so they're probably still going to be competitive. They have a bunch of hardworking role player guys that are going to step up, but they definitely took a hit on their blue line this season, and depending on those injuries and how long they last, their top scorers are out, so that's tough. The New Jersey Devils absolutely stunk last year. I don't know if it's a problem of the roster just not playing up to their potential, or if it's just a makeup, or it's a coaching issue. I don't know what it is, but they were not very good last year. They have weapons in Kyle Palmieri and Pavel Zacha and Nikita Gusev to go with their obvious stars in Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier. The problem, it just seemed like the players didn't play up to their potential last season. So I think the Devils will be better this season. I don't know how high their ceiling is, though. Maybe they just aren't that good. On defense, you have Subban, Vatanen, and Severson. And then on the left side, you have Ryan Murray, Ty Smith, and Butcher. So it's clearly one offensive rushing guy on one side and like a stay-at-home, basically not as good of a skater on the other side, and maybe they're just getting exposed like that. They should be better than last season at least. They might be like a fringe playoff team, which is what they were supposed to be last year, but they ended up just stinking, so they have nowhere to go but up, I would assume. If I had to pick a lean in this game, I gotta go with the New Jersey Devils at plus 120 odds. I know the Bruins have been great forever and probably should beat the Devils, but it's just the Bruins are so banged up and missing key guys. It's not quite the same team as last year, and I think the Devils will be better than last year, so I gotta lean towards the Devils plus 120 in this game. All right, next game, we have the Dallas Stars at minus 110, and we have the Florida Panthers at minus 110. I'm not sure why they have even odds. What the Stars did in the bubble was remarkable. They were underdogs in every single series, up to and including the finals, and they gave the Tampa Bay Lightning a run for their money. I think the turning point of their team was in Game 6 against the Calgary Flames when they were down 3-0 in the first period and then scored 7 unanswered with 4 points from Miro Heiskanen, who just emerged as a stud, and Denis Gurianov as well. Against the Colorado Avalanche, they got clutch goals out of Yoel Kiviranta. One of the best games of the year against the Colorado Avalanche, where they just exchanged leads 4 times before the end of the game. Yoel Kiviranta records a hat trick, including 2 tying goals and the winner in overtime. I mean, that team was flying, and it was deep. They had Corey Perry, they had Joe Pavelski, they had Seguin and Bent, but then they had these young guys stepping up, like Denis Gurianov and Heiskanen, and Klingberg is obviously a phenomenal player. And then Hudobin, who they just signed, had just shut the door down. Hudobin played amazing in that entire series. He probably would have won the Conn Smythe had the Dallas Stars won that. Do I think the Dallas Stars are going to be the exact same team coming into this season? No, I don't, because right now, Seguin is injured, and they just had some kind of playoff magic going there. And I just don't know how easy it is to replicate that type of team chemistry. That being said, it's pretty much the same roster. They signed a lot of those same guys. Dallas could very much be a weapon again this season. The Panthers last season were pure unbridled disappointment. They just did not play well despite having a great roster and adding Bobrovsky. They let Mike Hoffman walk. They let Dadonov walk. They added Anthony Duclair, Patrick Hornquist, Noah Chari, and Wenberg as their second-line center now. They were supposed to take a step forward last year, and they took a step back. I'm not sure what direction this team is going, but they didn't seem to get better this season. If I had to lean, I got to go with the Stars in this one. They just seem like a better team from top to bottom. Up next, we have the Islanders at minus 110 and the Rangers also at minus 10. This is a coin flip game. The Rangers could be good. The Islanders could be good. We'll see. The Islanders are a Barry Trotz coach team. They play regimented team defense and limit chances in high danger scoring areas. They will get you on the counterattack and with special teams, and they never seem to give up on a game, even if they're down by quite a few goals. They played well against Tampa in the playoffs just this past season after eliminating a good Flyers team. What can you say? It's a Trotz coach team. Their results speak for themselves, and I don't see why they would get any worse this season. Now, the Rangers are going to be an exciting team to watch this season. Obviously, last season, the key marker was the emergence of Mika Zibanejad. Mika Zibanejad scored a hat-trick in the first game of the season last year, and he didn't look back. He scored 41 goals, 5th in the league, 11 more than his previous career high. He's missed a few days at camp ahead of this game, but the Rangers have said that they believe he'll be back. Another notable addition for the Rangers is they got Alex Lafreniere this year. This guy is a stud. We don't know what his ceiling is, but it could be very high. And he's on a team with Capo Kakko, Mika Zibanejad, Chris Kreider, Pavel Buchnevich, Panarin, Strome. On defense, you have D'Angelo, Trouba on a first line. I think this Rangers team, at least offensively, looks pretty dangerous right now. They're going with a tandem of Shesterkin and Georgiev. And I think this season in particular, having a 1A, 1B is going to be super important with the schedule. Having two quality goalies like Shesterkin and Georgiev is going to be very important for the Rangers. If I had to lean in this game, I got to go with the Islanders. I'd like to pick the more physical, more defense-oriented team. If it's a split, if it's a coin flip game, I got to go with Barry Trotz and the Islanders taking this game. Up next, we have the Capitals at -133, and we have the Buffalo Sabres at +113. Peter Laviolette took over as the coach of the Washington Capitals. When he went to the Flyers, he made them good. When he went to the Predators, he made them good. The Washington Capitals are already good, so we'll see what Peter Laviolette does. But I don't think he's a bad coach. Personally, that's just my opinion. I think Peter Laviolette's a winner. So that could be a good move. The Capitals have added Zdeno Chara notably to their roster, which is just insane. Having Chara and Ovechkin on the same team with Backstrom and John Carlson and Oshie, and that's a good team. That's a real good team we're looking at. I think the Capitals could definitely make one more cup run. Why not? They have all the same players. They're just 1 year older. That's the only difference. Samsonov and Vitek Vanacek will be the goalies as Lundqvist has opted out of the season. Buffalo's swinging for the fences in an attempt to get offense. They've notably added Taylor Hall to Jack Eichel's wing because otherwise Jack Eichel's just going to request a trade and get the hell out of there. I mean, he's obviously cheesed at the way things have gone. Jack Eichel's not happy and everyone knows that. They acquired Eric Stahl as a second-line center. He'll be 37 years old as of October 29th, 2021. But Eric Stahl's an ageless wonder. I mean, he's one of these guys. I mean, Eric Stahl is just going to produce. You'd rather have him on your team than not. Yes, he's a little bit older, but I think it's a good move for the Sabres. He's going to play with Reinhart and Olofsson. The third line will be Skinner, Lazar, and Sheehan on the, I don't know. It's okay. Buffalo's not going to be that good again. You might get individual success from Eichel and Hall, but I don't think Buffalo maybe fights for the playoffs, but I don't have a ton of faith in them. So my lean in this game, the Capitals went over a league best 43-28 last season, while Buffalo was about even at 32-33. Sabres have added scoring threats, and based on the makeup of their team, they're thinking score first. For that reason, I believe with the Washington Capitals' tendency to go over, and the Buffalo Sabres getting a little bit better at scoring, we're going to go over in this one. It's going to be over 6. Up next, we have the Carolina Hurricanes at -205 favorites, and then we have the Detroit Red Wings as +170 underdogs. Let's start with the Red Wings. So the Red Wings are definitely not going to be as bad as they were last season. That was a historically bad Red Wings team. Their young guys should take a step forward. You got Tyler Bertuzzi, Dylan Larkin, Anthony Mantha. You got Philip Zadina, Robbie Fabry, and then Bobby Ryan's actually on the second line now. Then their third line is Nemesnikov, Filppula, and Gagne. On defense, you got Day Kaiser and Hronek. And then you have Jordan Stahl and Nemeth. Mark Stahl. Grice and Bernier will be their goalies. They're going to take a step forward. They're not going to be good. It's another rebuild year, clearly, for the Red Wings. But hopefully it's not as demoralizing as last season was for them. The Hurricanes, on the other hand, are a bona fide contender. The Hurricanes are a good team. They're for real. And I'm going to say that right now. This Svechnikov guy is like a stud. You can watch those games and notice him on the ice being arguably the best player on any given night. Teravainen and Aho, bona fide studs. Niederreiter on that top line as well. I really like Trocheck as a second line center. Vogel, Jordan Stahl, and Nikas on the third line. Even their fourth line, Dzingel, Geeky, and McGinn gets the job done. Their defense, Slavin, Hamilton, Brady Shea, Pesci, Gardner, Fleury. In net, they have Mrazek and Reimer. That's probably their biggest weakness, but they got a mobile team that plays like tight checking hockey and just absolutely smothers other teams and makes it impossible to like get any chemistry going. That's the type of game they play. I think the Hurricanes are well coached. I think they're well built, and I think they're going to be a dangerous team this season. In this game, if I had to pick a lean, I would probably go with the Carolina Hurricanes to win in regulation against the Detroit Red Wings. Up next, we have basically a coin flip game between the Calgary Flames and the Winnipeg Jets. Last season, these two teams ended on a heated rivalry with the Calgary Flames sweeping the Winnipeg Jets after they were badly injured, partly by the Calgary Flames when Matthew Tkachuk hit Mark Scheifele with a controversial hit into the boards. Paul Maurice wasn't too happy about it. We expected carnage. We got a little bit of it. This game could be a lot of carnage. This is like the first time they're meeting since that sour taste in the Jets' mouth. It could be a high penalty, high fighting game, and I am excited for one. So the Flames 2 years ago were the second best team in hockey behind only the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are on a historic pace. They finished first in the West, the Calgary Flames did, before getting bounced by the Colorado Avalanche in the first round. Last season, they finished fourth in their division, behind the Oilers, the Canucks, and the Golden Knights, and they were bounced by the Dallas Stars in the first round. The Dallas Stars did have a good run this year, and the Colorado Avalanche are a good team. But the question is, what's stopping the Calgary Flames from being a real cup contender? If they were second in the conference, is their team that good, or are they not that good? The Flames will be starting this season with a top line of Matthew Tkachuk, Elias Lindholm, and Dylan Dubé. The second line will be Johnny Gaudreau, Sean Monahan, and Andrew Mangiapane. That's arguably one of the best second lines in hockey. The third line of Milan Lucic, Mikhail Backlund, and Josh Levo, I'm not a big fan of personally. The team definitely drops off after the top six. However, it's, different tools for different uses. Mark Giordano is still going to be a staple of the blue line. I think Noah Hannafin's going to be a great player for the Flames. In net, they just picked up Jacob Markstrom, who had a phenomenal season last year with the Canucks. Jacob Markstrom was in talks for the Vezina the entire season. It's really weird seeing him on the Flames, but he could be very good, and if he is, the Calgary Flames are going to be a threat for the conference once again. The Winnipeg Jets have been a good team for a very long time. In 2017, they finished second in their division. In 2018, they finished second in their division. And both times, the first time they were eliminated in the third round by the Vegas Golden Knights, who went to the finals in their inaugural season. And then the following year, they were eliminated by the Stanley Cup winning St. Louis Blues. Last season, they were plagued by injuries, still made it. I think the Winnipeg Jets have been a threat and will be a threat again this year if everyone, plays up to snub. Obviously, last season they lost Bufflin. That was a huge hit to them. Their defense took a hit. Tyler Myers is gone. Jacob Trouba left. So they've been rebuilding their blue line kind of on the fly, and that was a huge hit for the Jets last season. Now their top six, it's Ehlers, Scheifele, Wheeler, and then you have Kyle Connor, Stasny, Lane, and then the third line, Kopp, Lowry, Perreault. Like, it's just a nice, balanced, scoring threat team, and they're dangerous. And Connor Hellebuyck has emerged as one of the best goaltenders in the league. I think Connor Hellebuyck could be a Vezina candidate this season. I really like this Jets team. It's going to be phenomenal to watch this Canadian division and the rivalries that grow naturally between the Jets and the Flames and just all the teams. All the teams are going to hate each other by the end of it, and I think it's going to be fantastic. If I had to take a lean in this game, I'm really not going to pick it. It's a complete coin flip. I expect there to be fights. It's going to be fights, hits, retribution for Matthew Tkachuk's hit on Scheifele. They did a little bit last season, but this is the first matchup between these two teams since that. If I had to bet on anything, it'd be fights, fights, fights. Up next is the Columbus Blue Jackets as plus 100 underdogs, and we have the Nashville Predators as minus 120 favorites. The Columbus Blue Jackets eliminated the Toronto Maple Leafs from playoff contention in the playoff round in the bubble last season, led by the inspired play of Pierre-Luc Dubois, who was an absolute beast for the entire season. They added Max Domi in a trade for Josh Anderson last year, and he'll be playing on the second line with Cam Atkinson. They looked phenomenal against the Toronto Maple Leafs. What I'm most interested in seeing is how well their tandem of Elvis Merzlikins and Jonas Korpisalo is this game, because they put up combined better numbers than Bobrovsky did last season. And I think tandems are going to be a huge part of this season. So if they're doing this 1A, 1B thing, I think it's going to work out perfect for them. On defense, you obviously have Seth Jones, Zach Werenski. Those are the two stars of the team. They're obviously huge underdogs against the Tampa Bay Lightning 2 years ago, and they swept them. And they're underdogs against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they beat them. But Columbus is a big, physical, well-coached Tortorella team. They're a good team, and it's hard to stop them. They have guys who can score. So I think it's time to put some respect on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, if you want to talk about a team I don't respect, the Nashville Predators. I don't know what's wrong with this team. On paper, they should be great. They were in the Stanley Cup final a couple years ago, and they blew it against the Pittsburgh Penguins. But on paper, like Philip Forsberg, Ryan Johansson, Victor Arvidsson, that is a solid top line. Eric Holla, Matt Duchene, Mikael Granlund, solid second line. But they just don't seem to have what it takes. I guess they're like Roman Josi, unbelievable last season. Roman Josi's worth the price of admission for this team. He's the best player. He's the offense and the defense. Roman Josi's the guy you come to watch when you're coming to the Nashville Predators. You also have Ryan Ellis on defense. You have Matthias Ekholm. They've been notorious for having good defense for years. They still have it, but it's a different defense. It's a two-way defense instead of their shutdown Shea Weber thing. I want this team to be good, but they aren't. Pecorine was tough last season. He scored a goal, but other than that, he was not very good. UC Saros is supposed to be the guy taking over. They struggled in net. The Nashville Predators, they just could not stop pucks. I don't know if that's a team problem or a goalie problem or a coaching problem, but it just wasn't looking good for them. They got bounced out of the bubble, and it was embarrassing. If I had to take a lean in this game, give me the Columbus Blue Jackets all day at plus 100. This team has proven that they can play. They've proven that they have a solid roster, and I think they're going to beat this Nashville Predators team who doesn't seem to be able to win anything.
Next, we have the San Jose Sharks, minus 105, and the Arizona Coyotes, minus 115. I don't know what the Sharks are planning on doing. They don't look like a very good team. Their top line is Timo Meier, Logan Couture, and Kevin Labanc. Evander Kane is their second line left winger with Thomas Hertl in the middle and John Leonard on the right. After that, it falls off. Like, the team doesn't get better after that. Erik Karlsson pains me to say it. I hope he has a bounce back season, but he seems, since that injury, to just not quite be the same player. He's playing second fiddle behind Brent Burns right now. He seems to kind of be exposing himself as a forward playing defense. And then in net, Martin Jones, and they grabbed Devin Dubnyk. It's not bad, it's not great. It's 1AB, which it might be good enough for the season. So that's what they're going with. But with this Sharks team, I just don't see them having a great season. The Arizona Coyotes were the surprise of last season. They had a goaltending tandem of Darcy Kemper and Antti Ranta, who ended up being one of the best goaltending tandems in the league out of nowhere. And if it was the defense or the offense or the coaching or something, but whatever clicked for the Arizona Coyotes, it worked for them. Notably, they've lost Taylor Hall this year, but I think their young guys, Connor Garland, Clayton Keller, they're going to take a step forward. On the second line, you have Lawson Krause, Christian Dvorak, and Phil Kessel, still very competitive. Third line, you got Brassard, Hayton, Kajula. I don't hate that on the third line. And then on defense, you have Ekman Larsson and Jacob Chikrin are their stars, with Alex Goliaski, who knows how to run a power play. It's a good little team. I don't mind this Coyotes team at all this season.
If I had to take a lean in this game, I got to go with the Coyotes. I don't think the San Jose Sharks team is very good, and I think this Arizona Coyotes team might take a step forward this year and be just as good, even without Taylor Hall. All right, up next, you got game 2 of a back-to-back between the Canucks and the Oilers. The Canucks are minus 100, and the Oilers are minus 120. I'm willing to pick the opposite of my last game. I think if the Oilers win the first one, the Vancouver Canucks will win the second one, and vice versa. But my official pick for this game, for all the same reasons as last video, is the over at 5.5 once again. Up next, you got the Ducks as underdogs, plus 180 at the Golden Knights, who are minus 215. The Anaheim Ducks are once again in a rebuild year. They're a very young team. They have good players, but they're just not quite there yet. Their top line of Jakob Silfverberg, Adam Henrique, and Ricard Raquel can hang in there, but they're not as threatening as the best top lines in the league. Ryan Getzlaf's getting older, but he can still dish it out as well as any of them. They got Danton Heinen from Boston. Sonny Milano's on the second line now. The third line of Max Jones, Sam Steele, Troy Terry. Young. They're just young. They're going to be good. They're just not quite there yet. I still have Hampus Lindholm. They got Kevin Shattenkirk on defense now. Cam Fowler and Josh Manson are still there. It's just not quite there yet. Their roster's just... they're going to be bad again. They have John Gibson and Ryan Miller as a tandem. John Gibson's one of the best goalies in the league, and you can tell by how well he plays based on this team. He really stands out because they're so bad, but I'm not quite sure. I think they could be like one of those teams that just somehow bounces back, and within a couple of years they are competitive again. But right now, this ain't it. I don't think it's going to be a good year for the Ducks. The Vegas Golden Knights this year, they notably lost Nate Schmidt on defense, but they added Alex Pietrangelo, which is an upgrade. Their team's once again competitive. I think they're the prototype for that type of team. That's sort of like the Montreal Canadiens are now. It's like you need 3 second lines as opposed to a first, a second, and a third. It's like you just need teams with depth. Columbus is like this. Like you just need teams that can play on every line, and the Golden Knights are very much like that. I mean, their third line of Nicolas Waugh, Cody Glass, and Alex Tuck. Even their fourth line of Will Carrier, Nosek, and Ryan Reeves. Those guys get it done. They're big body. They go to the net hard. It's just a tough team to play against every single night when they're playing like that. And of course, in net, you got Robin Leonard and Marc-Andre Fleury, who were fantastic last year. I expect them to be good again this year. great tandem to have coming into this shortened season with the intense schedule. If I had to lean this one, I'm going to say the Golden Knights win this one by at least 2. So I'm going to take puck line minus 1.5 on the Golden Knights for this one because I think they're a much better team than the Anaheim Ducks. All right, so the last game on the list for the night of day 2 to cap it all off is the Minnesota Wild as minus 120 favorites against the Los Angeles Kings plus 100 underdogs. The Minnesota Wild have been just outside of the playoffs for years. They've always been kind of like a mediocre team, and I don't think very much of them. I don't think they've gotten good enough to be competitive this year, and I don't think they're bad enough to tank. So they're just kind of one of those middle teams. Somehow Zach Parise and Ryan Suter are like living up to those monster contracts they signed. They've just been there forever and continue to produce and be good and be top line players. So it's actually like looking back, as far as $100 million contracts go, like those were not bad, but it did kind of handcuff them for the rest of the team. Now, notably, they've added Kirill Kaprizov, who led the KHL in scoring last year, and now he's on the top line. We'll see how he is. Sometimes they transfer, sometimes they don't. But the KHL has been lately providing plenty of talent who's just as good as anybody in the NHL. I think at this point, it's less of it's a different league, and now we're getting to the point where the KHL and players who dominate the KHL can be pretty good in the NHL. It's not like it's a giant gap anymore. Kevin Fiala exploded last year. He was unbelievable for them last year. Let's see if he can keep it up. He kind of came out of nowhere, and he can go right back to nowhere just as fast. So I hope he was exciting to watch. He had highlight reel goals, so I hope he keeps it up. But this is just kind of a mediocre team, in my opinion. On defense, you got Suter, you got Spurgeon, you got Brodin, you got Dumba. It's a decent top 4. It's actually a decent top 4. I think this team does like to play the team defense more so than just like relying on the D to do everything. So we'll see how they do. I don't like them a lot though. Los Angeles Kings. What can you say? It's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one for the Kings. They still have Anze Kopitar, who's going to continue to produce the way Kopitar always produces. He's a bona fide star in the NHL. Dustin Brown's going to be on that right wing, but it just falls off. I mean, you got Jeff Carter, Athanasiou, Blake Lizotte, Adrian Kempe. I don't know, Martin Ferk. They got Doughty, they got Olimata, but it's just not. Team's not there. It's going to be a tough year. It's going to be a rebuild year for this Kings team. They might be the worst team in the league, but I've been wrong before. Jonathan Quick's still there. They got Cal Peterson backing him up. I'm not going to be picking the Kings in very many games this season. The Kings got extremely hot right before the end of the NHL season. Like they were the Kings were the hottest team in the league to end. I think they won 7 or 8 straight, inexplicably. Maybe it's because teams were giving up. Maybe it's because they didn't take them seriously, but the Kings were hot. They're capable of winning games. They still have Doughty, Kopitar, Carter. Like, if you somehow find the right pieces around those guys, they have a championship team somehow with Jonathan Quick too. My lead in this game, I got to take the Minnesota Wild at minus 120. I don't think the Kings are going to be very good. I think the Wild will win this one, but I don't think by a lot. So I'm going to take the Wild at minus 120 if I had to pick one. All right, so my official leans for day 2 of NHL action. I'm just going to give you who I think is going to win for each game. Capitals versus Sabres. Capitals. Bruins Devils. Devils. Islanders Rangers. Islanders. Hurricanes Red Wings. Hurricanes. Blue Jackets Predators. Blue Jackets. Flames Jets. Jets. There's going to be a lot of fights in that game, though. That's mostly what I'm looking for. Canucks Oilers. I said Oilers for the first game. I'll go with Canucks this time. Sharks Coyotes. I'm going to go with the Coyotes. Ducks Golden Knights. Give me the Golden Knights all day. Wild Kings. Give me the Wild. And Stars Panthers. I'm going to take the Stars in that one. So my official picks. I'm actually only going to pick 3 things officially, and then I'm going to do 1 14 parlay that I'll let you know. These are the 3 things that I feel are the most sure, combined with the best value for your money. I'm going to go with the Capitals and Sabres going over 6. That's minus 110, so $1 wins you like 91 cents. Blue Jackets, I think they're going to win. That's going to be plus 100 over the Predators. And finally, I think the Hurricanes are going to win in regulation. And as I'm filming this, the odds aren't out yet, but I assume they'll be somewhere around plus 110-ish. Hurricanes regulation win. So if you do those 3 bets, if you bet $1 on each, you turn $3 into $6. I like it. I hope it hits. We'll find out because I got to start winning here. There's no point in having a gambling show. All right, so I have 1 14 parlay, and that involves the Washington Capitals, the New York Islanders, the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Vegas Golden Knights all winning their games. If you do that, $1 will win you $7.24. Very likely they're all favorites, but anything can happen. So we'll see. Parlays aren't a great way to win money. It's just kind of fun to keep it interesting. So those are my official picks for day 2. Do with this information what you will. I'm just doing this to keep track of myself. I feel like when people are gambling, they kind of already have a preconceived notion of what they want to pick, and they're just waiting for someone to sort of reinforce what they think, or they're waiting for a moron like me to say something where they can go, exactly, don't do what that moron says, and then they do the opposite. But either way, I'm just here to say it so that you guys can do the thought process on your own. But I hope we all get rich, and good luck, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Cheers.